There's just 3 plants that they chose to shut down. And what you see is that they're shutting down SUVs, light trucks, all cars that have combustible engines that run on gas. These are the cars that are actually profitable for the car companies. Mm-hmm. And so what the unions are trying to do is capitalize on the still existing gasoline powered cars that they have now. But those are the very cars that Biden is trying to eliminate. Biden's EPA has issued regulations that mandate by law that 66% of all cars have to be electric by 2032. That's just 10 years from now. And if that happens, you're going to have all these car companies that have to transition to cars that aren't profitable. This is not going to happen.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering, where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with commentary editor Conn Carroll. And Conn, the Washington Examiner wrote an interesting editorial this week about how Bidenomics is actually really driving this United Auto Workers strike that Joe Biden claims to care so much about supporting the union workers. Tell us about why that is.
You can tell a lot about the strike by looking at the 3 plants that the auto workers have targeted to walk out on, right? So it's not that all the auto workers are going on work. There's just 3 plants that they chose to shut down. And what you see is that they're shutting down SUVs, light trucks, all cars that have combustible engines that run on gas. These are the cars that are actually profitable for the car companies. Mm-hmm. Ford lost $4.5 billion last year and loses something like $50,000 on every electric car they make. Wow. Electric cars are a huge money loser for the auto companies. And so what the unions are trying to do is capitalize on the still existing gasoline powered cars that they have now. But those are the very cars that Biden is trying to eliminate. Biden's EPA has issued regulations that mandate by law that 66% of all cars have to be electric by 2032. That's just 10 years from now. And if that happens, you're going to have all these car companies that have to transition to cars that aren't profitable. This is not going to happen.
Why don't you hear more of that sort of pretty obvious, well, it's obvious once you point it out, logic from the union leaders? Is it because some of the union leaders are sort of left-leaning, or why isn't that being articulated more?
That's a huge part of it. When you look at not just the UAW, but the larger labor organizations, they spend a ton of money on leftist causes that have nothing to do with the well-being of their workers. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge reason why unionization among private sector workers is at an all-time low. Because workers know that the union leaders don't have their interests at heart.
Is Trump, do you think, sort of outmaneuvering Biden on this one? I mean, he's saying he's going to Detroit. He's going to speak with the union workers. They don't super want him there, but he's still going, right, and showing more solidarity. Is Biden sort of missing an opportunity?
I think this is a big opportunity because it's just a fact that the fossil fuel economy is more unionized and middle worker based than other sections of the economy. And it's a big liability for Democrats.
And, Homeland, switching gears a little bit to your fave topic, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said in a recent interview that border policies are working. They just need to be tweaked a little bit. How is that?
Well, we saw one of the tweaks this week. Mayorkas announced just Wednesday that he was granting temporary protected status to 470,000 Venezuelan migrants. So these are migrants that are already in the country, or at least in the country before July 31st. He was very key about that July 31st date. He said that for the migrants that are in the country before July 31st, you get work permits and you get legal status, which can be renewed. But if you come in after that, and Mayorkas actually said this with a straight face to reporters, that he'll deport you. Yeah, exactly. He's not deporting anyone. Mm-hmm. And migrants know that as a lie. They know that if they come here, as long as they get into the country, Democrats never will deport them. So it just shows that this is one of the small tweaks that Mayorkas thinks will help the migrant problem along, because you had New York Governor Kathy Hochul, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. They were saying, look, you have all these migrants that are flooding our city. We need to be able to get them to work legally. And this TPS status for Venezuelans will help some of them get that work legally.
And finally, Joe Biden was in New York City this week for the United Nations General Assembly. He notably didn't meet with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's been really outspoken about the migrant crisis in New York City. Is the fact that New York City is suffering so much finally making this like a real issue for Democrats, do you think?
Yes and no. I think yes in the sense that, look, when you go to New York City, this is something that the Democrats there care very much about. When you look at Chicago, there was a viral video this week of a resident at a town hall saying, "Can we just shut down the Illinois borders for migrants?"
Stop
right?
it.
No, yeah. So for the Democrat rank and file, this is a real issue. But there's an activist, far left class that actually runs the Democratic Party. They're the ones with the jobs in the White House, and no, they don't care. It's full steam ahead.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.